Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Magandang hapon. And welcome to our podcast episode for the day. We here are different youth activists and researchers and other community organizers from across Southeast Asia. And we have representatives from Thailand, uh, Indonesia, and of course the Philippines to discuss different topics about youth participation in different alternatives and movements across Southeast Asia. And particular for this episode, for our pilot episode for this group of youth activists, we're going to talk about state authoritarianism and what the youth could do about it. So before talking about our topic for the day, maybe we could introduce ourselves first. So I'm Mon. I teach at the University of the Philippines and currently a researcher with the program on alternative development at the UP Center for Integrative and Development Studies, and also an activist, a part of the Save Our Schools Network and Content UP. Maybe we could introduce ourselves based from each country. Philippines first, I suppose. Ryan?
Okay, I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm working alongside Mon in the Alternative Development Program, UPSIDS. So I'm excited to learn more about our actions. I'm working alongside the media sector, and I think I can contribute a bit about the youth issues. Arvin.
Okay. Hi. I'm Arvin Dimalanta. I'm a researcher at UPCIDS with Mon and Ryan, and I'm a community architect and organizer in Sitio San Roque. It's an urban poor community in Quezon City, Manila, and I'm co-convener of a non-profit alliance, which is Save San Roque. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. How about from Thailand? We have three youth activists from Thailand here in attendance.
Okay, I may start. Okay, my name is Don Tajaroensuk, no, from Thailand. So I working at People Empowerment Foundations. This human rights-based organizations, and I also working for democracies in Thailand also. Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarn Kittanaikarn. So I'm currently studying at Chulalongkorn University. I'm working with a medical unit for people organization, which is providing the first aid for people in demonstration protest campaign. Yeah.
Okay. Me next. Hello everyone. My name is Game. I'm now currently studying Faculty of Pharmacy at the Burapha University. Now I'm working with a medic field for people who love democracy with the Mahidol University. Thank you.
Okay, and then now we go to Indonesia.
Ricky first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky Amukti. I'm working at Fraction Energy Asia as a researcher that's working on environmental and renewable energy issue, but I'm also head of research and development in Indonesian People Movement Confederation. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. So we have a lot of attendees for today's
Paskal.
session. And yes, Paskal, sorry.
And last but not least.
Paskal.
Hi, I'm Paskal. Before that, I'm sorry for the late to join this conversation, this Zoom. I'm right now is active in Indonesia People Confederation movement, same as Ricky. And that's it. Yeah, for introduction. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Pascal. So we have representatives here from three countries, which I think many of our viewers will be familiar with what's happening in these three countries. No, there have been many challenges, I suppose, that our people are facing, and some of these challenges could be connected to what we think would be state authoritarianism. No, uh, the state being the state consolidating power, implementing policies which the state thinks could not be resisted given the pandemic and given all of these lockdowns. So this has been, I guess, quite a ripe time for these states to impose these policies and to uh, and get their own people in line. But I guess, instead of explaining all of this, maybe we could get more context for each country. No, what laws or policies, anti-people policies, have we been facing in the past few months? Maybe we could share that first. Maybe we could start with Indonesia, because I think the Indonesian people are quite uh, uh, they feel strongly against the omnibus law, if I remember correctly. No, let's hear it from Indonesia.
Paskal first or me first? Paskal?
Please, Ricky first.
I really like to share like a screen sharing, if it's okay.
Sure, sure.
But it's still disabled.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So I made a simple legal not legal framework, like a research framework from the actor, what the stimulant, and what the implementation in Indonesia. The first thing I have to say, the stimulant why this condition happened in Indonesia, there is a three factor. The first is global recession. Second is 2020 local election. And the third is 2024 presidential election. In this situation, the competition between oligarch network to get access and state control. At the time, back in the last year, in the election 2019, there is a president election. There requires like a resource for elite and oligarch consolidation, and that's why to get the resource and the response from globalization, they make like a really strong consolidation. In Indonesia, there is almost zero opposition now. The condition. The first thing the regulation they made is they are awakening KPK, our anti-corruption bureau. They like trying to circumstate what they can be doing and something like that. In the corruption, they already made the regulation to awakening the anti-corruption bureau, and then they also have a potentially to abuse of power because there is no third people or third bureau, because in Indonesia legislative, executive, and judicative is not doing well here because we are a civil law country. Why is happened? Because trias politica, I think, in my opinion, it didn't match with the civil law. Why? Because the legislation and the legislative and the executive made the regulation, and the judicative just have no power. They just follow the regulation they made, and then they made regressive policy because there is no opposition as again, and also they make like a repressive action to shrinking democratic space. Why is like that? It's also because they have all the media in Indonesia now. If you aware, in Indonesia, all the ministry, not all the ministry, not all the media owner now have a position as a ministry in Indonesia. So we have zero resources to go to like a objective media. So the only platform that we have now is only social media. But in social media, we also have some challenge from buzzer or internet group, what it's called in your country. In Indonesia, we call it buzzer. And then also there is more involvement in the police and military to make a repressive action because they get authority from the president as well. And now we can, as you can see, in Indonesia, there is like a really controversial bill. It's called Omnibus Bill. That's really like a compiling all the regulation become one, but there is so much destructive regulation in omnibus bill. It's because they just remove the environmental safeguard, they make it easy for investment, and they are just like a pushing like a infestation, like a for extraction, like a coal mining and a plantation, and that's why it's like a really dangerous for our forests and for our environment in Indonesia. I think for me that's all. Maybe Paskal, we can add something.
Okay. If we want to talk about the omnibus law, is I think is the strange point is about why we people now get apa keterlibatan apa bahasa Inggrisnya, engagement from the government to the people, because I think omnibus bill make one one law, over 70 law is wrapped up in one law, and I think the government must should be heard about the people affected about the omnibus law, and that's not happening in drafting in omnibus law, and I think it's the very strong point about why we should reject the omnibus law. And I think, like Ricky said, omnibus law have 11 cluster about environment, about infestation, and before we go talk about the substantial, omnibus law have failed in the production, in the procedural, make it the right law about to the everyone. I think in Indonesia, to the people. I mean, why I call it, because the omnibus law, the government have wrong step to the procedural, make the omnibus law affected to all the people. And yeah, like government in nowadays in Indonesia, we don't have trust. Our people don't have trust much to the government right now in nowadays. I think it's the issue or the point talk about the omnibus law. What happened in Indonesia right now? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Indonesian people from KPRI to discuss the current context, especially in highlighting this broad implication of the passage of the omnibus law to not just only the workers but also to the environment. I think we could proceed to the discussion of the Thailand group, especially now. I've been hearing it all over the news, especially in innovating practices for responding in this kind of protest crisis. Don, I think you could just share your Don
question. Just my question, because I feel that, how to call that, omnibus law, right?
Yeah.
It is come at the same time like with the asset, you know. Do you know that have any clue that this law is related to the asset, like what side for the last asset summit?
RCEP.
Okay.
Yes, the recently passed regional comprehensive.
Oh, resource efficient and cleaner production. Is it correct?
Yes.
Or different?
The economic partnership.
Okay.
Yeah, for free trade agreement for like in ASEAN they say this is the largest free trade agreement, in the world, like 48% with ASEAN country, and I cannot remember China, South Korea, Japan, right?
And
Australia,
mostly in the Pacific countries.
Yeah, for my opinion, it's like mainly because of our politician is also businessmen in our country, and this omnibus bill is also for respond to securing their business. That's why they open more for investation, and they also like make the regulation easier to get permit, something like that, so they can secure their business. I'm not sure is there is a link between RCEP as well, but I think it's just mainly because of they want to secure their business, because of, as a politician, they also as a businessman in Indonesia. I think I can say like a 95% politician in Indonesia is businessman.
Which means all MP like agree with this law, right? I mean, all MP of the Indonesian MP agree with this law, right?
Yeah.
Really?
All agree. There is no opposition in Indonesia.
Okay, I see.
I can say now there is no opposition in Indonesia, so
okay,
it's just for they're securing their business.
Ricky and Pascal, I also read in the news about the recent revival of the revision or the amendment of the state ideology. What does it mean for the Indonesian people if the state would be amending I think it's like the constitution, the principles of Indonesian people, of the Indonesian state?
Paskal, you can answer first.
I don't get it. Can you repeat? The constitution, sorry, Ryan, can you repeat about the question?
Sure. I was referring to the Pankasila, the state ideology.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh. If you talk about our fundamental constitution in Indonesia, if you talk about Pancasila is the first is belief in God. Secondly is about the humanity. Third about unity. Four about democracy, and five about social justice. And I think, like Ricky said, the challenge is now is it's like in Indonesia we don't right now is not is make about the constitution not based on that, because like Ricky said 95%, 98% is always a businessman, and like mindset of businessman, money is the king. Every way we can arrange bad or good for the people, I don't care, because money is the king. And investigation in Indonesia, we have some unique research. Indonesia is not going slow in investigation, but the investigation in Indonesia not large affected to the people. Why I called that? Because worker in Indonesia, or like our generation have past graduated, it's not going to the infestation, not going to apa ya bahasa diserap itu apa Ki? Portion in infestation, absorption in infestation, and that's the problem, because some people, or oligarchy we can call it, they have a benefit, and the people is not affected by directly to the infestation, and we that's the one point. And secondly is about misalkan environment. We have in our constitution before omnibus law is called AMDAL, and right now in omnibus law the analytical, the effect about environment or analytical effect by environment is not there in omnibus law. AMDAL is gone in omnibus law. So
AMDAL is environmental assessment, guys.
Oh,
yeah,
Just for
and,
your information.
sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Ricky. And it's done in omnibus law. We don't we take it of granted about the environment because of the infestation. It's the strong point in Indonesia right now, I think.
I will add something, Paskal, if you don't mind. Okay, I will try to the point to Ryan's question. I think that bill is just distracting for the main issue, the omnibus bill, because in Indonesia, if you can I can say more than 80% is nationalism. They are all nationalists, and in Indonesia, politicians is really good to use that. So if you're nationalist, you cannot protecting our critic on us, something like that. But that's why omnibus bill has become another issue when they put nationalist bill in between. So if you can choose, Indonesian people choose majority, if you can talk about infestation or nationalistic bill or nationalist issue, they will more focus on nationalist issue. It's just distraction. I don't think they will pass that bill. It's just for decoy, I can say.
And in Indonesia, it's very easy to spin the issue.
Yeah, it's really easy. Especially as I said before, all the media or the media owner now is part of the government.
Yes,
it's easy.
correctly.
Do you have anything to add to establish the context of Indonesia?
I think that's it. I think
Okay.
let's see the other country first, and we can compare.
I can actually hear already so many relations and similarities between what Indonesia is experiencing now with the Philippines, like how media is being consolidated by the government, how the government itself is filled with businessmen. Hence, the laws are very helpful to their businesses, including those that are quite extractive against the environment. Yes. But before we proceed, maybe with Thailand and Philippines, we have a new member in our crew. This is Ning, right? Ning, are you there? She's connecting.
Yes.
She is, but I'm not sure she has the microphone. หนิงได้ยินไหมครับ มีไหมครับบ้างหนิงได้ยินไหมเอ่ย I'm not sure. It's like it doesn't have the microphone, you know.
Yes.
Oh.
Maybe she doesn't have the mic.
Oh no. But yes, Ning is also from Thailand, yes?
Yeah, from Thailand.
Okay. Yes. All right. So speaking of Thailand, maybe we could start hearing from Thailand, given that the whole world is quite familiar with the large protests, the very big and multi-sectoral protests that are happening in Thailand against the monarchy, if I remember correctly. Maybe someone could give a context how it started, why these protests are happening, what do the protesters want to achieve. Yeah. Maybe Don could start.
Have you let you start? You know, now I'm supporting.
You're still part of the youth, Don.
สารเริ่มก็ได้ครับสารเริ่มเลยก็ได้
What can I begin with? So the protesting is began in around July, by the student in the capital of Bangkok. They demanding to explanation from the government to talk about the murders and the disappearances of the prominent and activists in Thai. And they demanding to what is it called?
อะไรภาษาไทยก็ได้
Can you hear me?
ได้ยินอยู่ครับ
Okay. Okay, so this moment is kind of expand into the country-wide movement that they threaten to bring to an end to the long of the venom Thai political and business elite that has been loath to give up to this kind of monopoly on power and wealth. So it's basically like Thailand's government is facing a kind of sustained protest campaign that's brought up thousands of people, mostly youth and young people, out on the street to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and his team. Yeah, so we've been standing from the 3 demands, which is the first dissolution, the parliament. The second one is stop threatening Thai citizens, and the three to reform a constitution monarchy. Yeah, I think you guys get it.
Hello,
Hello.
everybody, you get that?
Yes, we
Yes.
get it.
Oh, okay. You understand
Yes,
me?
we do.
เกมมีอะไรเสริมไหมครับ
For me, personally, I believe Thailand protester is begin at because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and government have a military MVP come to a province that's called Rayong, and then they always tell us to guard up, don't let you guard down for COVID-19, and then government have a MVP person that coming to Thailand that have contain the COVID-19 in, and then the pandemic begin in the Rayong province, and then there is one person that's now he is one of the leader of the protester in the Rayong. His name is Mike. Have begin the protest because he feel that why government do this to us. They are very like tell us to not do this, but they can do everything that they can do, and then they don't want us to have a freedom of speech. They always like what I call it
อะไรก็ได้ที่ช่วย
ก็คือเขาบอกเขาไม่อยากให้แบบเรามีเสรีภาพในการพูดมากเกินครับประมาณนั้น
So government try to restrict the freedom of expressions for Thai. They don't want Thai people to have like fully right on expressing. Yeah. ไปต่อเลยครับ
and then that is where protester began to be more like powerful because a lot of people have been under the government of Prayut Chan-o-cha for 6 years, and the first time that the Prayut Chan-o-cha come to become the prime minister in Thailand, is he always tell us that he won't take this long. He always he won't be corruption. He will be a clear government that he will not corruption. Yeah, and when the time begin to pass for second year, third year, 3 year pass, 4 year pass, and now 6 year, almost 7 year, they keep corruption, and they don't want us to check everything that they have done. So that's why this is a reason why Thailand protester become too more like powerful, because a lot of people that don't agree with Prayut Chan-o-cha have don't care about really a pandemic, because they cannot tolerate about this prime minister anymore. This is my point of view.
Okay.
Did you guys get it?
Hello, everybody. Any question? เงียบกันหมดเลยวะ
Again, I'm just thinking about how similar the conditions are with the Philippines. In my head, it's running how we both want our leaders to step down, right, from their positions. Given that it seems from what we're hearing from Thailand, our leaders are allowing all of these what do you call this, are allowing the repression of the people, taking out the freedom of expression, taking advantage of the time of the pandemic, of the lockdowns, to impose these different policies? Are there anything concrete, any actions from your prime minister which you think triggered this anger from the people of Thailand? Or has it been going on for such a long time?
What is the question again?
Is there any big action or step made by your prime minister that really triggered the anger, the frustration of the people, or has this been going on for such a long time? This campaign to take out to force your leader to step down, or did he do something really that really angered the people of Thailand?
ใครจะตอบไหมครับเก็ตป่ะเหมือนเขาถามว่าไอ้รัฐบาลมันจะทำยังไงกับไอ้ความไอ้ที่รัฐบาลที่เขาโกรธกันอยู่อย่างเงี้ยอะไรเงี้ยในเชิงรัฐบาลอ่ะ
like for me I think
ตอบก่อนไหมเดี๋ยวจะผมตอบ
เอาเกมก่อนก็ได้
Okay. About the response of government, right? That about protester. I think they will do nothing because they want to keep their power. That don't want Thailand people to have freedom of speech. Everything. They want to turn the democracy to the absolute dictatorship. That have. I don't want to talk about this because, but I'm gonna talk about this. About His Majesty monarchy have support the dictatorship that this is my personality of thinking of the monarchy. I feel like the Majesty have support the dictatorship Prayut Chan-o-cha to fight with the people that love in democracy and in next Wednesday in the 25 in this month. The protester will have the protest at the front of the Majesty ทรัพย์สินภาษาอังกฤษคืออะไรนะฮะ
พี่ไม่รู้ว่าin 25 this month they will go to the I don't know the English name. That is like the it's like we go to the some like department of the assets of the king. So we will go asking Delhi.
Yeah, and the government will not let us to go to that easily because I believe Thai people always knows that who is the behind of this dictatorship, who support them, and government will not surrender so easily. So for my point of view, my perspective that Thailand protester is not only want to win. They didn't really want to win this, but we just want to show them power that we are not under your command anymore. That's the point. My perspective of this protester. So I didn't really care about we will win or we will lose, and I don't care about what the government will do, but I just want them to know that I'm not under your command anymore, and I will not be tolerate for your dictatorship anymore. We will speak out with our rights. We have right to speak everything that we want. We are not under Prayut Chan-o-cha command that they can't keep my head down anymore. I want to rise up and tell them that we are not under your command. Thank you. Good. This is my perspective.
We can see that with raised fists. Yes.
Look at him.
I really like that symbol. I really like that symbol, John.
Yeah, you have to do this.
Can you explain more or give me a story about this story behind?
Yeah.
It's really
I believe that in the first year that Prayut Chan-o-cha have come to legislate government power that under the Jinrak government that government before the Prayut Chan-o-cha. There's a movie called Hunger Game. You know that, right? Yeah.
Yes,
I don't sure what English name. What is freedom? ภาษาอังกฤษมันคืออะไรบ้างนะครับ3อย่างเนี่ย
มีอะไรบ้างนะมันมีอะไรบ้างนะ
พาราดอนภาพเสรีภาพอะไรเนี่ยครับ
พาราดอนภาพนี่มันอะไรวะ You know one word in Thai is difficult to translate in English. พาราดอนภาพ is solidarity.
I don't know.
The first one พาราดอนภาพ is solidarity อันนั้นที่2เลยนะ
เสรีภาพครับ
Second one is the freedom and อันสุดท้ายเลยนะ
เดี๋ยวกันนะขอนึกกันผมจำไม่ได้แล้วพาราดอนภาพเสรีภาพอีกอันนึงอะไรนะสารจำได้ไหมครับ
มันมี
สันติภาพเสรีภาพพาราดอนภาพครับผม
peace freedom and
solidarity
solidarity
that's really good
the three finger is come from the Hunger Game movie
peace
it's something that many of our youths have already watched, right?
yeah
It's something very unique to our generation, the Hunger Games. But yeah, what is
soft
it?
power, soft power really effective,
it's really good symbols, and it's like a become everywhere as because in Indonesia they get like a polarization demonstration. If they have demonstration, they will use like oh, you are Islamic group, oh, you are student group, or you are other group. But in Thailand, I never seen or never heard about the polarization of the group. They just use this symbol and everybody.
Hey, you can use it the same in your country.
Okay, if it's all right,
all ASEAN country,
There's
no symbol in
Indonesia, right?
There is no symbol in Indonesia yet, I think, because we have logo, we have organization, but we don't have symbol when we go to the protest or something. But really cool.
And it's really useful. Okay.
And how can you manage the polarization when you going to the street?
Yeah, because we have a strong polarization in Indonesia. Like, oh, you are going to sit. Oh, you are Muslim group. If you go, oh, you are student group, another group. But in Thailand, I don't know in Thailand situation, but I never heard that polarization.
Is there even in Thailand? Is there like a polarization or differentiation between different groups based on religion, maybe race or political belief? Is there?
Sorry, can you give again?
I think what we're asking here is that is there any polarization in Thailand when it comes to the different groups of protesters?
Polarization มันคือเหมือนกับที่
difference.
You just separated the different group like oh, this is like religion group, student group. They just make it to different.
พอเข้าใจไหมพอเข้าใจตรงนี้ก็ทำไหม Okay.
Actually, in the protest now, it's more like the stereotype and the separating of people is coming together, like everything, like the monk, if you see monk, the LGBTQ community, a religion community, a student community, it's more like becoming one of the big group. It's not, I mean, like only the opposites, the protest, the yellow shirt. Yeah, that's kind of polarization that's going on.
Yeah, I know one more thing, like in the protest demonstration, we use the word like everybody, we are leader. It's like we don't have exactly leader. Everyone is leader. It's like we try to emphasize this word all the time. Yeah.
How do you say that in Thai? How do you say that we are all the leaders during the protest in Thai?
How do we?
How do you say it in Thai? The sentence that you gave.
ทุกคนเป็นอะไรล่ะพี่
ทุกคนเป็นผู้นำแกนนำใช่ป่ะทุกคนเป็นแกนนำ
yeah everyone is the leader. There is no absolute leader because we are organic mob. We are organic.
Yeah, it's organic. It's I guess people are the Thai people have been pushed to the limits that everyone's just angry, everyone's just frustrated, and this is how you all coalesce, right? All of these different sectors. No?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Question for Thai folks. Would you say there's like a uniform call to reform?
Oh no, Arvin?
Arvin.
I'm guessing this is Arvin is going to ask about a uniform call to change the government system from a very military-centric government system. Is that it, Arvin? I think you were taught.
That's it.
Yeah. So is there a call to change the military-centered government into something else? Is there?
In Thailand?
Yeah.
Yes.
มีใครตอบไหมครับได้ไหม
เกมว่าไง
Hello
Yeah, we can.
Is that too difficult? I'm sorry.
It's
Is
just
this an issue of security to answer the question?
Maybe you can just type it in and
I think outside Thailand, we just know
Ah.
the protest as the pro-democracy.
yeah.
about I don't want to talk too much about the monarchy because this
Oh,
video
yes.
was recording.
Right.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
really-
But we have an idea. I mean,
we can talk about this later when we are done recording.
Just maybe
It's okay, Pumin. Jail is not all bad.
right.
No. I still
It's okay.
have work and family to take care.
Because that pretty
I'm
much
still a student.
answers the question.
I don't want to go to jail.
Answers the question. And it's
Maybe
all
we
right. I
talk
mean,
about
like,
this after we done the
the
recording.
implicit censorship here already an idea. I mean,
Honest,
that already says a lot about the state of democracy in Thailand, right? What we can and cannot talk about, even in international, cross-regional conversations like this one. Yeah.
but I feel like in this demonstration group, I feel like they're not trying to abolish the monarchy. They just try to get
Reform.
the reform and take
Mm.
them under the law, just like the England, the Queen Elizabeth,
yeah.
Yeah.
แล้วแป๊บนึงรัฐธรรมนูญภาษาอังกฤษคืออะไรครับ
Constitution.
โอเค that Thai
Constitution.
Thai monarchy is always one step ahead of the constitution right ใช่ปะ
ใช่ครับถูกต้องครับ
that is why he can do in Thailand they have one word that that's kind of monarchy this the king then can do no wrong. You get that right? So whatever he do, that he is raw, and now what the Thai protester want to do is reform this monarchy statement that to have the equal right to us. That he didn't like a king. He just another person, but as born as a king.
Okay, can I say something here? For me myself personally, I feel that we spend a lot of money to the monarchy by taxation, our taxation.
Sure.
So for me, it not make sense. And then taxation, you can use that to help many people in like many ways, but we just spend that for just one family. For me, in myself, is not effective for Thai.
And that money go to waste because of to let him enjoy the money for go to another country.
You guys pretty much answered the question I was asking. Would you say that the king or the monarchy is still deified in this time? That there's protest or
Sorry, I mean, can you try that?
Can
you try that?
like treated or honored in a religious way? Is that what you're asking again?
Yeah, that's it.
You mean like how the monarchy is related to a religion?
Religion, yeah. Or is it just the military?
I think it's all connected. When like religion is like in Thailand, they taught us to be like see the monarchy and royal family as a god.
As a Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's gonna related to the religion because like they come together. You know what I mean? Like they're on the same level. From the respectation and in a some kind of like spiritual way. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
ให้ช่วยไหมครับจะบอกว่าอะไร
เอาใหม่อันนี้เมื่อกี้เก็ตไหมอ่ะ Do you guys get it?
Yes, we get it. Yeah, and I think I'll be speaking for myself and not for the Thai delegates, but there's like a more they see the new king as something different from the previous king, as the last king Ramanai served the longest and the most down to earth, while his son is more like a more lavish lifestyle living abroad in Germany. So those sentiments are like what builds this movement of dissatisfaction to their monarchy, as well as in support of the current junta. Do you guys have anything else to add? What do we for us to know about better the context of Thailand?
I want to ask
Oh,
if
sure.
how about the coup d'etat from the military? Because as we know, Thailand is recently the military is very powerful in Thailand. He can coup d'etat the regime. And right now, how about that?
You mean the military, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Paskal is asking. Yeah, Paskal is asking about the involvement or the hold of the military to the Thai state.
You know, military always involved with Thai politics all the time. Like we have many coup d'etat, right? And you know, recently, like because of the 2017 constitutions, so this is like the legacy of military after coup, after 2014 coup, you know. And you see, because of this system, when we have elections, at the end, you know, we still have the prime minister from military because of this unfair constitutions. And this one is drafted by military after coup, you know. So it is like exactly authoritarianism from like military. They try to be involved in politics all the time and take the decision. Also like control everything, yeah.
I think this is my like preliminary assessment before we go and proceed to our side in the Philippines. But yes, I think for us members like here, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines, we're seeing our governments transforming into more militarized, more militaristic, especially during this lockdown. Yes, and we see in the COVID responses of our countries the large involvement of the military in like they in the Philippines. They see the COVID pandemic as a threat to national security. So even before the pandemic, the President Duterte, the current head of state in the Philippines, has appointed several key positions in the civil government, especially in the recent elections. Most of them have long histories or former generals in the Philippine Army, and now they are serving civil government roles, especially in the recent appointment. Like I think Arvin could explain this later. The Department of Human Settlements. What could the appointment of a former general mean for the appointment of a general? Does he know the issues of the peoples, and what is the relevance of his stake? And are there any more like points that to raise Thailand before we could properly proceed to the discussion of the Philippine case? I think there's no. I think we could like introduce Arvin, and I could start while Mon might gets back to the discussion. Yes. Yeah. Here in the Philippines, we have been at the 250 plus days of lockdown. Although it's not as repressive, or it's not as strict as the first months of quarantine, of lockdown. Right now, we could now go outside, but we have to wear face masks. We have to wear a lot of accessories in our heads. Like we have a face mask, we have a face shield. We have to wear those accessories before we could interact, and there's also social distancing for us as well. And we've seen like for the past 8 months, the response of the Philippine government has not been that stellar. Arvin,
So I can add to that. Maybe I think what's similar to the omnibus law of Indonesia. Can you guys hear me? Is it clear?
Crystal clear.
It's clear. Okay. So what's similar is what's called the anti-terror law. So it's like Duterte's version of this omnibus law, but it mainly focuses on anti-insurgency, or what he it starts from a very vague definition of terrorism, in which his appointed council decides whoever is a terrorist, or in that case, then if a community worker is deemed as a terrorist by that council, he can directly go to jail, and there's like no proper or no due process that he will have to undergo before he can go to that position or point. So it's very scary, in particular for us community workers, because during the period of the lockdown, it's also the road.
Now we lost you.
Yeah, I think we lost. There's a lag in Arvin. Yeah, in the Philippines, we have the worst internet in the region.
Yeah.
So, Arvin, you can continue now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can
I'm
hear
also
you.
in the community right now, so you see the struggle of distance learning in communities, in urban poor communities. So in this community, we've experienced so many policemen going inside and out of the community, barging in the community center, finding who the leader is or who the team leader of the organization is, and it's been very scary. And there's lots of times that residents from the community, and I'm speaking not just for the Sitio San Roque community, but for many urban poor communities that have been illegally detained and sent to jail without due process. And that's very scary, because that's basically what the anti-terror law is trying to do. But now they're trying to make it into not just like a policy of Duterte, but a formal law that's enshrined in every succeeding administration in the Philippines. And in particular, we've also experienced so many times that there's been a military surveillance, even in very legal community organizing workshops or participatory design workshops that we're conducting in the community. So it's very scary, but at the same time, the people have also, similar to Thailand, have spoken up, have organized spontaneous actions to show opposition to this we call it the terror law, not the anti-terror law. So to show opposition to the terror law, has been that action. Duterte still, he of course succeeded in continuing this into a formal law. And just recently, I think there's been already at least two or three or more community leaders in indigenous communities that have been abducted and have been trumped up with have been given trumped up charges. Harassment by the military is continuous. So that's basically that's on top of the very draconian measure of Duterte in just suspending the mobility of the people, and at the same time not providing enough relief to many marginalized communities, especially one of them being Sitio San Roque. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Very, very similar. And you can see where Duterte is coming from. He's basically he's an oligarch himself, and he claims to be not part of that class. Similar to what's happening in your countries, I guess.
And just to add a bit more context to deepen and to narrow down the targets in the Philippines, we like among us, Ryan, Arvin, and I, and Mon, Ryan, I, our Yes, I find it funny as well. It's clear to us that the target, the person who is all to blame in this pandemic, the crisis that we are experiencing, especially in the responses during the recent typhoon onslaughts, is Duterte, the President Duterte, because even before the anti-terror law has been passed by the Congress and signed by Duterte, his pronouncements uh, have been the state policy towards activists, towards environmental workers, towards human rights workers. Duterte even said during like a month, just a month out during the lockdown that and it is true to Arvin, the case of Arvin, since he is also the organizer of this community, the urban poor community. He said Duterte said just shoot the people
Yeah.
if they are not they are
Uncooperative.
uncooperative. In the Philippines we call it she called it pasaway. So that is, if we have a president like that who is undemocratic, who is really who himself spouts terrorist claims, that's really someone, or the person to blame to this situation that we are experiencing. And like I said a while ago, he only trusts the military to do everything. He doesn't trust civil society. He doesn't trust activists. Right? For him, Duterte, he sees the activists as the enemies of the state. Maybe Mon could further deepen this engaging of the context of the Philippines.
Yeah, actually, a lot of what our friends from across Southeast Asia have said are quite similar with the Philippine context. No, we have, for example, the use of religion as a way to quell the people. There's also definitely repression of media. In fact, under this pandemic, amid this health crisis and all of the different storms that just hit the Philippines, the Duterte regime had the gall to shut down one of the biggest media networks in the Philippines, which has different what do you call it, broadcast stations in the different regions and provinces in the country. So when the storms hit the Philippines, given that there are no media stations in these different provinces, a lot of them experienced a media blackout. We didn't know what was happening in other parts of the country because what Duterte is very fickle. He doesn't like criticism, and I think the whole world is already familiar with how crazy he is, to the point that sometimes I personally think that he has uh, mental health issues himself, because the way he speaks to the people, even during uh, his pronouncements, his official speeches and addresses to the people, he's very personal. He talks a lot about himself. He talks a lot about criticisms against him. And a lot of what he's saying has no real or material basis even. He would, during his addresses about the COVID-19 pandemic, he would talk about terrorism. He would talk about celebrities. He would talk about how the military is the only is the only possible response to the pandemic. It's as if militarization, it's as if keeping people in line inside our homes is a way to is a way to stop the pandemic from spreading. But uh, uh, if you remember, only a few months ago, earlier this year actually, when the pandemic has already been spreading across the world, he has been saying that that the COVID-19 virus is not even real. So he had all of he's besides being what Ryan and Arvin has said to be a terrorist, he's also a source of disinformation. He's also sowing confusion among the people, and a lot of people are actually believing him, unfortunately, because of the lack of strong media presence in the Philippines. Because a lot of media actually, mainstream media events, avoid conflict with the national government. So there was even an instance where he said that the solution to COVID-19, if you're positive, if you're COVID positive, is that you have to drink alcohol or detergents or whatever chemicals. It's very similar to Trump, yes. So he's not only spreading this information, but he's also he's also not giving hope to the people. Uh, Different sectors who are already marginalized even before the pandemic are put to the are pushed to bare life, right? Given all of these policies that the government has implemented, like uh, increased tax to through the train law, for instance, the people have very little access to basic necessities. There are many people, for example, in the urban sector, and our indigenous peoples have very little access to social welfare provisioning. In fact, uh, social provisioning amid the pandemic, what we call here as the ayuda, which is Spanish for help, is very limited. There are still some communities in the Philippines which until now has no access or has not been given social provisioning that should have been given in the first few months of the lockdowns. So that's how corrupt the government is. Yes, and the experience in Indonesia, for instance, all of these clamor from the people are being disregarded because most of what they call this, most of our taxes actually go to the pockets of the politicians. Actually, like very similar with what's happening in Thailand, what has been implied earlier, right? That the tax of the people are going to the monarchy. Here it's going to the oligarchy. It's going to the allies of the Duterte family. In fact, amid the pandemic, we had all of these projects which has no place in this health crisis. Like, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but we had the 28, if I remember correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, a 28 billion peso worth project of putting sand in a small, a few hectares at the Manila Bay. So this very expensive sand, instead of the 28 billion worth of taxes going to social provisioning, going to our marginalized communities, it went to sand that no one actually cares about. And the government keeps on defending themselves. They're saying that this is for natural rehabilitation, even though scientists have been saying that the dolomite sand will have no impact on the environment, any good impact on the environment, right? So there are so many beautification projects that actually support future commercialization projects. That sand actually is a way to beautify the area, because that area in Manila Bay will be used for establishments of casinos, malls, and all of that, which will of course benefit uh, corporate partners who are of course in the government. So the pandemic has been an excuse for the Duterte regime to push through with these policies, which include the anti-terrorism law. And interestingly, actually not interestingly, but frustratingly, the first case of the anti-terrorism law is against indigenous peoples in the Philippines. They I think it was in Pampanga, right? If I remember correctly. No, Arvin, because they have been saying, the local government there has been saying that members of the Aita indigenous community have killed policemen. Even though our indigenous peoples in the Philippines have no access to weapons or any kind of weaponry against the police, who are very much comfortable with their arms, with their firearms. So this is only the first case, but definitely it's possible that a lot of our indigenous peoples who are also in the environmental defenders of their ancestral domain, and the different youth activists, LGBT activists, human rights, and urban poor activists are all susceptible and vulnerable to trumped up charges and cases made through the anti-terrorism law. So it's a way definitely to quell our freedom of expression in the Philippines, especially given the different projects that attempt to marginalize our communities here. Communities like because personally I'm working with indigenous peoples. Arvin is working with the urban poor community, and then Ryan is also working with the media, and all of these sectors are being repressed by the national government.
Okay. Oh, can I ask you something? Ask question.
Yeah.
Is court still exist in Philippines? Because in Indonesian perspective, like they made a lot of controversial law or controversial like an omnibus bill on the others. We made like a judicial review in the constitutional court, but is nonsense. Because what? Because the judge just invite to the palace, presidential palace, and get award, give them award or something like that, trying to intervene their decision. So I think now there is no opposition even in trias politica. There is no opposition in government. There is no opposition in parliament. There is no opposition in on judicial organization. So all support each other. How about in Philippines? Is it still exists?
Right. So yeah. I guess in Indonesia there's no opposition at the parliament and at the judiciary branch. Here in the Philippines, I think there are members of the government, in the Congress in particular, who are quite who stand against all of these policies, but they're very few. They're actually a
Just
very thin
eight.
minority
Yeah.
of the Congress. Arvin?
Yeah, just eight among I think 100 lawmakers are progressive, and right now they're being tagged as terrorists by the police. Like
Yeah,
big
crazy.
tarpaulins are being printed out with their pictures and names, like being labeled as terrorists. And in particular, they're being labeled as communists, which I don't think is wrong. But and it's not illegal in the Philippines, but still it's being done, and no less being done by the police. So
Right.
it's very
So they can call people without just based on their prejudice.
Yes, yes.
yeah.
You're
That's the
part of the
worst.
opposition, you're an enemy, you're a terrorist. That's how the state labels it. No,
Oh,
it's a very populist strategy that has been used in history against people who oppose oppression, against people who try to fight for human rights. Actually, yeah, like what Arvin was saying, no, uh, the what they call this, those who are part of the opposition in the Philippines. Although the opposition is of course still wide, it's still it's composed of people from different parts of the political spectrum. We have somehow a more militant left. We have those who belong a bit nearer to the center left of the political spectrum. But definitely there is a broad unity among these different political groups, no, who are against the what we already see or analyze as a dictatorship in the Philippines. But again, the government consider them as terrorists, and in fact, it's not only the police. No, of course, the police is the most frightening because they have access to firearms, they have access to
government
the
funding
judiciary
everything.
even. But we also have trolls in the Philippines. So many trolls, so many people in social media spewing disinformation. In fact, a lot of these lawmakers mentioned by Arven and even other members of this very loose opposition, quote unquote, are being what antagonized, demonized by trolls. In fact, members of this loose opposition are all quite hands-on with relief operations in light of the two storms which hit the Philippines. But the troll armies online keep on saying that these are only media propaganda. You're not actually helping the people, and there are so many people and there are so many people in the Philippines who actually buy what these trolls are saying. Unfortunately, no, given the lack of proper media access to media in the country. So yeah, when since we're talking about the judiciary, when the anti-terrorism law, or the terror law as we call it, was passed, uh, so many oppositional groups actually filed a case against it at the Supreme Court, trying to repeal the law, trying to restrict it. But until now, there is still no opposition from from the judiciary branch. They're still talking about it, contemplating about it. But of course, we know their own alignments, right? They're trying to protect themselves as well from breaking allegiance with the Duterte government. So it's quite
And
similar, I guess, to Indonesia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite similar.
just to connect and answer also Ricky's question, he said a while ago that their Indonesian parliament is also full of businessmen, full of landed elites. It's also the same in the Philippines. The few congressmen or congresspeople that we mentioned are the only sole people's representative in the Congress. The rest are actually businessmen, landed elites, political families, and they have, and as Mon said a while ago, they have a huge stake in this government and this allegiance with preserving their political strongholds with Duterte. The courts, the moment the anti-terrorism bill was signed into law by Duterte, not a few days after, like just less than 3 days, the first the first motion against the constitutionality of the anti-terror law was questioned by the lawyers groups. And since then, various sectors like indigenous people, farmers, students, teachers, every sectors of society have questioned the constitutionality of this repressive law. And these congressmen were also involved in the shutdown of of the largest media network in the Philippines, which led because they don't want to be exposed of their wrongdoings of their money trail in their works in government. So, do you have anything to add, Mon and Arvin?
I have one stupid question.
Sure.
And
Stupid
how many times a president can get elected in Philippines?
Only one term since
How long is that?
That's 6 years.
6 year, one term.
That's why since the
But the
start,
government is basically an oligarchy. So they just
Okay.
cycle the members. If the president or the vice president is no longer part of the executive branch, they would most likely be a part of some other branch in the government. That's the usual case.
So
It's
they
basically
just
the
change
Philippines is one.
positions. Right?
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
So
I
actually,
think they also have efforts to change the constitution, so or even entertain other efforts to suspend the election so they can extend their term. So there's also that part. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, Similar to the case of Indonesia, like the 2020 local elections and the 2024, the Philippines is fast approaching to the 2022 national elections. So right now, we've seen the responses of the Duterte administration, the local governments. They have been, this is their proving point. The crisis, the COVID pandemic, the typhoons is their proving point. Yet, people express their disappointment. They are not contented. So there's a political move in the minds, in the cronies of Duterte to really suspend the constitution, really extend their term, because if they get ousted or if they lost the election, it's really the people who will decide what to do with murderers, what to do with human rights violators, what to do with landlords who reclaim the lands of farmers, etc.
I have another question, please. Thank you.
Sure.
In Filipina, are the electoral really consider about the party? Because in Indonesia, they don't give a fuck with the party as long the candidate is good. They will choose them again. No matter where they came from. I mean, the party is still same in the parties doesn't matter. It's only the candidates matter.
No,
In the
it's
political
actually very
party.
similar with Indonesia. The
Okay.
political parties in the Philippines are not exactly political parties because they don't
Okay.
operate within a concrete and comprehensive political theory or political standpoint. Actually, the political parties are mostly just based on their alliances, their
Yes.
allegiance. In fact, a lot of those people who run for
Factions.
government, they just change their political parties. You know, they're what we call turncoaties, who just join which political party they think will win.
Or
Although
political butterflies.
political butterflies, yeah. But political parties in the Philippines are different with party lists because we have this party list system in the Philippines, which is supposed to represent marginalized sectors. So, for instance, if you're a group of youth, you could have your own party list. If you're a group of indigenous peoples who are engaged in politics and national politics, you could have your own party list. Unfortunately, the oligarchs are also hijacking that system. Although what we were talking about a while ago about the opposition, many of those who belong to this loose oppositional unity come from the party list system as well. No? But yeah, actually, there's only one political party in the Philippines with a very concrete political framework. But of course, with the security matters, let's not bring that up. Yeah.
Also, just to give perspective, the Duterte administration also created his own party list, which is Duterte Youth Party List. So, and the irony there is the Duterte Youth, the representative of the Duterte Youth Party List is not even considered a youth or someone young. He's very old already, and the members of the party list are also um, old people. So you see how ridiculous this thing is already.
We already have a young member, but they are just a family from the old member. It's the same.
They're just part of the political family,
Yeah,
right?
they just give them legacy.
Yeah.
To his kids.
It's nepotistic. It's very
It's
similar.
nepotistic. Yeah, it's really nepotistic.
It's like a
Well, I
tempered
think
down version of monarchy in Thailand.
well, I think it's quite similar I think it's quite similar in Indonesia because if I'm not wrong, it's only get one elected in president in Philippines. In Indonesia, is because we got you can get elected twice. So the first term they will really good, and the second term they can go wild. I mean the corruption or something like that because they have no responsibility to get re-elected. I think it's also the same in Philippines because they have no responsibility to get re-elected. They're just going wild like that. I don't know. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
It's always in the second term of presidential in Indonesia is always suck. In the first term, they're really good, trying to get a good branding, hearing everything from anybody. Like after he got re-elected, it's become wild. It's become uncontrollable.
Actually, it's quite similar with the Philippines as well. They only they only work, they only function if it's election time. If they want to be re-elected again, they will try to destroy roads and build roads again.
It's the same.
That's actually a joke already in the Philippines. If you're a politician, you would destroy the roads and rebuild it. So that's your project. That's where the money goes.
For urban poor communities, mostly the residents would say that I'll speak it in Tagalog. Kailangan lang nila kami pag election, which means they only need us during election time, but after election time, that's the time they demolish our communities and drive us out to some relocation site far away from our livelihood. So yeah, that's very, what do you call that? Like, it's a sad situation every election time.
Yeah. So according to Don, it's also similar in Thailand. Maybe friends from Thailand could share.
I could say the similar, during when we have the political campaign. So that's true. That's like the time when the candidate you go to the all corner of the society as much as they can. So then after that, they got when they got elected, it's like so difficult to see them on the fields. Just only some politicians still working on the communities. Yeah, and then if you talk with many of the local people, they would say politicians sometimes they just come to the field only when they have the campaign. It's similar.
Are politicians joining the pro-democracy movement?
So sorry?
Are there politicians joining the pro-democracy movement?
The politicians join the youth politician?
Politicians, are they joining your protests in Thailand?
Actually, it is not allowed for them to join the protest, but some MP go to the field, but they say that observing. They have to be clear, like they are MP, just observe the situations. But even the government side, military side also claim that this MP not observe, they are going to join the protest, though we have they should have some punishment. It's like we have any excuse for them, they can do whatever.
Okay, I think that's our sharing in the Philippine case. I'm really interested in how the Thai youth, or I think we have volunteers here who are first responders or medics in the Thai protest. I think you could share your practice, what have you been doing, and when was it the last time you responded?
เกมยังอยู่ไหมครับ
Kim and Sorn, yeah.
ยังอยู่ครับ
เขาถามว่าเหมือนเมื่อกี้ได้ฟังคำถามไหมป่ะ
ได้ฟังครับได้ฟัง
โอเคตอบเลยครับ
แต่ตัวให้หน่อยได้ไหมครับผมไม่ได้ปิดประตูอยู่
โอเคเขาเหมือนถามว่าเรื่องไอ้ที่เราทำงานเป็น medical อ่ะเป็นเหมือนหน่วยพยาบาลอ่ะเป็นยังไงบ้างในพื้นที่อะไรอย่างเงี้ยให้แชร์ตรงนั้นหน่อยครับ
As a Thai protester, I'm just only one of the Thai medic field. There is a lot of medic field that they didn't come in the party. That only they feel that there is one of the I am doctor, I am pharmacist, I am a nurse, and I want to help the people that go out in the demonstration because of the government. And then for me, only for myself, I work with the promotion in the Thai world. That is work only in the few people, only 10 people that who have we all sorry, I must say this word. We all are the student, but not everyone are the medical student. Some students are not from doctor, from pharmacist, from nurse or anything. That's the only people who want to help us with the medic. We give them all knowledge. Like as the in วันที่เท่าไหร่นั้นที่เขาฉีดน้ำล่าสุดนะครับ17
ใช่ครับ
17 November I'm work with Nings to go to the medic field that they use tear gas combined with the water and then spray at the protester. I'm a Ning and the first and not only the two person that go to help at the medic field, but all the people that's only a medic always take care of each other and they will always take care of other. But for myself, I'm only work when I have a free time, so I can't really tell what will happen next and what happened in the past. I'm only take care of my past that okay, this day I have a free time and I want to help people that go hang out with a demonstration. So we only take care the not serious injury that okay, these people was hurt by the tear gas. These people was hurt by the attack from the police or something. But only people that have a serious injury we will take them to the ambulance and take care of them to the hospital. That's only I can do because I'm not a really a serious medical surgeon. I'm only a อาสาสมัครภาษาอังกฤษคืออะไร
volunteer ครับ
I'm only a volunteer that I want to help the Thai protester. Yeah, that's all.
It's actually quite similar with the Philippines. Many people get into or volunteer as paralegals or paramedics. They learn all of these different things just to be able to assist the protesters. No.
It's also the same in Indonesia. They just join the voluntary as a first they just paramedic street, something like that. They barely have a background in the medical, that they just learn how to give a first aid or something like that. That is enough. And sometimes we also rent an ambulance if there's something bad happen, something like that. It's the same. It's also we have like a lawyer, something like that, like a voluntary lawyer that help us if we get caught, something like that.
I happen to remember, or I was reminded about the milk tea movement. Are you aware of it? I think that's the term the media has been referring to, the youth movement and the pro-democracy movement in Thailand.
มีใครคุ้นเคยไหมกับmilk tea alliance?
Yeah, the milk tea alliance.
I know only few, but I don't really have a info about it. I only know that the multi-alliance is Thai, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, right? There is this is only my info. I don't sure. Please don't take seriously. I just already tell you about what I really know, but I don't know this is real information or fake. I just will tell you all I know. That the multi-alliance I believe this happened when Thai Hong Kong and with in the Twitter, you guys know Twitter, right? It's a website and application that near similar to Facebook and very popular. There is a Thai actor. I believe his name is Bright. I don't really know what happened. But there is a problem between Hong Kong and Chinese first that Chinese claim that Hong Kong is a part of Chinese, but Hong Kong say that we are not part of Chinese, and Taiwan also come to join with Hong Kong. And I don't know how Thai join with Taiwan and Hong Kong. I believe this all believe is all happen only with the actor named Bai, and I don't know the girl actor name. But and then we all you can search. I will get
it's
what
okay.
It's a keyword. I will give a keyword inside, and you can search this on Twitter. That you will see a meme that Hong Kong and Taiwan people are make a meme that Chinese people cannot beat Thai people with an argument on internet. That and only mutual alliance. Now the listed info that I get from there is a conversation between the Thai girl named Ang and Joshua Wong talking together about the People Democracy. But this is only info I know, and I will leave the keyword here in the chat loop. Okay, in a minute.
Okay, yeah, because milk tea is really popular in the Philippines, and that's why even the ordinary people could relate to the struggle of the youth just because they hear this milk tea alliance in the mostly in the peninsular part of the Asia. Don, do you have anything to add?
You mean the multi-alliance?
Yeah. Have you heard of it as well?
I have quite I'm not sure. I don't have much information. As I know, it's similar with game, And then I feel that it have the discussion about the actors, something about Thai actor, but I don't know how it became the political issue. It's like it's complicated for me also because Twitter is going so fast when they have some issue. So sometimes I could not follow up, But at the end, what I found they have alliance multi alliance between Thai and Taiwan. Hong Kong maybe to show that democracy is norm, something like that. But I don't know how it's coming. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's also I'm not also caught up with this milk tea alliance as well. And thank you, Kim, for sharing this hashtag. It's hashtag NNEBBY. Who has been I think popular in Twitter and social media. I think we could also share in the Philippines the practice of the youth during lockdown, especially it's really peculiar and really a point of raising the practices of the youth, strategies of youth in organizing efforts. Since we described a while ago the context in our countries. Right now, we're just like a week after the onslaught of three strong typhoons in our countries. So a lot of youth organizers, mostly since classes have been suspended in universities, have volunteered organizing in communities. They since they don't have any work to do, they have organized in communities. They have volunteered in the relief efforts. So we're seeing this youth action. A while ago, we said about the campaign to oust the ouster campaign. Ouster means remove from office. Duterte. We're seeing that these youth responses are responding not only to this campaign but also to the people's needs, since a lot of a lot of people have been affected by typhoons, have been jailed, have been living in poverty. So the youth have been organizing relief efforts. And recently, they have also been organizing what they refer to as youth strike. It's a hashtag youth strike. It's a new movement alongside the Hong Kong, Thailand, Indonesia movement. Maybe Mon could discuss this further in depth, since he is also one of the organizers as one of the teachers in the University of the Philippines.
Yeah, actually, the strike only started last week. It was very fast. It was very quick. It was only one Sunday when different organizations and groups discussed among themselves, and we just had to, I guess, strike to end the semester because across the Philippines, schools have pushed through with the classes, even though remote learning is very difficult. A lot of us have no access to proper internet. Philippines has the slowest internet in Southeast Asia, if I remember correctly. So a lot of us don't have access to it, and the physical module system in place of the remote learning has only led to more COVID cases. So the education sector, composed mostly, of course, of the primary stakeholders, which would be students, and also us teachers, are already frustrated and tired of pushing with this with classes, especially in light of the two storms of the calamities, because instead of uh, giving social provisioning, instead of providing relief efforts, the government is only focused on what what has the national government has done. Actually, there is very little other than propaganda and what they call this. We have actually this joke that President Duterte is sleeping under a mosquito net or a kulambo. That's a very symbolic as a very symbolic image used by many Filipino youths, because there's very little effort from the national government to respond to these calamities. And so uh, last week only we started a strike to end the semester, or at least to have academic breaks, to stop classes for a few weeks, so that the students, so that and the teachers could focus our efforts, our energies to relief efforts, and also as a way of protesting, of exposing how difficult the current education system is, and how incompetent the government is responding, not only to the calamities, to the storms, but also to the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's a very comprehensive protest, not only to the education system, but also uh, against the national government and what it has been doing. And the Youth Strike PH is actually garnering support from uh, international scholars, international youth organizations. They're also expressing so much support for the Youth Strike. And this week will be the second phase, I suppose, of the strike to end classes, to have an academic break, to focus on relief efforts and protest. How about I guess in Indonesia? How is the youth participating in these protests against the omnibus bill, against the dictatorship of the Indonesian government?
Yeah, actually, we have like a several agenda. Of course, organizing is one of them. We also try to organize more movement to join with us, but we have our agenda. The first one, we're trying to push like a people help people movement. It's like to show that we don't need the government. And then we also like propose like a universal basic income. It's like to help them to get income without doing a job and without requirement. It's because of what? Because Indonesia is really have a really rich resources, like natural resources, like oil, coal, and something like that, but never get any benefit from the peoples. And others, Indonesians also have a free market movement, so people just put their stuff in the market without getting paid, something like that. So you can take what you want and you can put what you want. It's free market to strike against capitalism. And also we have like a movement, like a use cooking oil movement, because we want to produce our own energy. Like we made that use cooking oil as a biodiesel. It's like a fuel. You can use it for electricity, and you can use it for vehicle and something like that. And the last thing, not the last, we have like also trying to make our own party to join the election, and also we want to make like a social disobedience to not pay tax and something like that, because yeah, it's the only thing that we can push the government in Indonesia.
Yeah. Sadly, Pascal can't join us anymore. But we also chatted on Facebook, and he shared to me that he is organizing the unions in universities. And
Yes.
that's a good example of integrating the work of KPRI with its involvement in the people's movement and workers movement in university, in translating it into universities. Those are good efforts. And I think since we have this forum that we're trying to convene, it's like a youth forum. This is just the start of like a partnership among our countries, among our movements. It's great to hear the medical responding, the responders of Don and company, like Sarn and Kim. Really glad to hear that even though I think you're both still university students, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that they spare their time just to participate and help in the relief. Sorry, in the medical responses. And in Indonesia, we've seen the practices of the still against the omnibus terror law and the militarization of of their government. And in the Philippines as well, we have still a lot of challenges to face. Especially, we are confronting a climate crisis and the neoliberal crisis of government. And I hope this platform would also serve the interest or really represent the interest of the of our two of us of this alternative movement that we're building. And Mon, do you have any message, or Don, Ricky, final message? Let's gather our final messages before we conclude and mark this as a start of something bigger in our region.
Can I
Sure,
give just short message? I think you show our friend, you can show our solidarity, by use to the same symbolic.
Oh, we can take a picture later.
Let's take
a
I
picture
mean,
now.
like,
I
if you
can.
do, if you do protest anyway, like in your country, anything, if you can use this one, you can show like among us, we have the same spirit, to fight with like what is the regime, Duterte regime, like something like that. We can show that it's like we're not tolerant anymore with this. And then it's really powerful if we can use together among like with across the country, It means it show like we are friends. Okay.
As an ASEAN community.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, those are powerful message like solidarity, freedom, and peace. Ricky,
yes.
Maybe I think Sarn, do you have a message to share?
Yeah, I mean, as hopeless as this situation is we just inspired to be creative, to be voicing, to be protesting, to be free from the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like, but in creative ways, just like the symbol. Yeah.
Kim?
Yeah, I think the same as Sam that we only want to don't want to be under the wrong thing that like now Thailand is under dictatorship, but our country is a democracy, so we just only don't want to be under the wrong thing. Yeah, I think as same as Sam. Thank you.
Ricky.
Okay, for me, ASEAN as a regional is quite invisible, because if we compare with European, American, something like that, they're really, really like a pop up. It's time for us to make our regional visible, we can start with our small and young fire and make it bigger and establish fire. That's my
Arvin.
Yes, I think we can drum our efforts together. We can amplify what we're doing. Although these are efforts that are different in nature, but I think we all have the same goal to amplify and really create governance that is for the people and by the people. So I think this is a good start to create that space for ASEAN initiatives. There, yeah, that's it.
And finally, Mon.
Finally, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I just like to agree with what Ricky raised a while ago about ASEAN being an impossible project. It's impossible by virtue of the fact that its genesis is actually about economy, about putting money, profit into the pockets of those who are in our national governments, right? And I think what we're doing now, what the youth in particular is doing now across Southeast Asia, all of these shows of force from the next generation of leaders in these countries are already proof that an alternative Southeast Asia is possible. A Southeast Asia that emerges out of our alternative practices, out of our social movements, out of what they call this, out of protest, out of resistance, no, against not only the elite in our individual countries, but also uh, I guess neo-colonial powers from across the world as well. So definitely, I hope this is the start. This, of course, the youth movements across Southeast Asia have already been waging protests and resistance, posing resistance against these forces for such a long time. But these conversations, no, could be a start of something new as well. Hopefully, in the following weeks. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's
Let's
have a photo
let's
to
make
end
this
this
a
discussion.
reality, something larger than us. Okay.
Please
That
photo.
would be, let's end first the podcast. Then let's have a photo after.
You see the
Yes.
ano,
I hope this
Nikki.
our session would be something that would bear something in the region. Uh, this concludes our podcast for Lawan. I hope you stay tuned, listen, and engage with us since our community is getting larger. So that's all.